the lover energy is utterly opposed, at least at first glance, to the other energies of the mature masculine. His interests are the opposite of the warrior's, the magician's, and the king's concerns for boundaries, containment, order, and discipline.
Began to look closer at the comparative mythological studies of Campbell and others, and began to notice the predominance in all of these images and cross-cultural traditions of Eros, the lover archetype, which is always present, always problematic in all these stories, and so began to realize that had to be included, and began to study that. As a good typical male, the lover archetype is not one of the easiest ones for men to understand very well, unless they're borderlines. If they're a borderline male, they tend to know a lot about the lover archetype, or an addictive male. I try not to be perfectionistic with people about this. I try to say, look, if you're really in touch with this energy, that's a plus, you know. So, for example, if you're an alcoholic and you're flooded with lover energy, at least you got the lover energy. And one of the things that's bad about the way we do diagnostics in clinical psychology today is that we tend to really pathologize people who, you know, a great number of borderlines are in here. And if you're a borderline personality and you know enough to know about a borderline, you really feel bad about yourself. Oh God, you know, I'm really an unstable personality, and I've got, you know, all these problems, and you know, and I'm not very high up on the developmental continuum, you know. Well, you know, that you can argue that sort of thing, and you have to use all sorts of I think you have to use all sorts of primate evidence and all sorts of other things to look at that. But the way I prefer to think about that is to think in terms of what the lover part of the psyche in a man or a woman is capable of, and what it's not capable of. And in my view, the archetypal lover in male and female is totally promiscuous. It has no fidelity in it. It is polymorphous erotic. It loves everything. It is in a man it's the male version of Aphrodite. And I like to say to people, you know, people like to say, no, that's not real love, and I think that they just don't understand the erotic, because I was just, you know, if you listen to poets talk, you know, you get to listen to poets talk about what's important, what's valuable. I was just listening to one young poet talking, and he was singing out of the lover archetype. You know, you could just hear that lover song. Well, all these people trying to tell you what to do about duty and responsibility and everything, and the only thing that's important is, you know, it's kind of like follow your bliss, you know. Well, where does the bliss of the lover go? Does it go to just one person? No. The bliss of the lover goes to all people. It's not even consistently heterosexual. It's bisexual. It's not even bisexual. It's polysexual. It's Freud's polymorphous perverse, except I choose not to say poly. Why call that perverse? That's just Freud's problem. It's polymorphous erotic. It likes men, women, animals, trees, you know. You know, a lot of these New Age types, crystals, you know. God, I just love my crystal, you know. You know. In fact, the way you understand, you know, a lot of people get real moralistic about Christmas time when everybody's into their present buying. Well, that's just the lover coming out. The lover loves things. Everything. And, you know, the theologians talk about sacramental consciousness. Well, that's what this is. This lover energy coming out. And it loves everything. It doesn't love just one person. So where does fidelity come from? You tell me. Look at this thing and tell me where you get fidelity. Doesn't come out of the king and queen at all. You'll notice kings and queens tend to have a lot of consorts. Bring on Sir Francis Drake. You know, boy, he is a handsome young man. Bring him into my court, says the queen. You know, if you study the king stuff, when a man's in this king archetype, and you know, in the ancient world, I mean, they were not humans in having an ego self-axis with this archetype. They were the archetype. And they had harems. You know, a sultan with a harem. Well, you see, I don't think that's male. See, some people like to say, well, I'm just a male. Women are naturally, you know, monogamous. I think, yeah, that's right. Women are naturally monogamous until they get in touch with their lover. And that's right. Then they're inexhaustible. And they can stand a lot more lovers than the men. So here's where fidelity comes from, and only here. There is no other place in the psyche that fidelity comes from. Isn't that interesting? Think about that. It is the warrior. And if you're going to have a committed relationship that's monogamous, it will be because of the development of your warrior side, not because of the development of your lover. I have all these men come in. I don't know what's wrong with me. I really do love such and such. But you know, I met so-and-so the other day, and my God, I had an erection immediately. What's wrong with me? I said, well, you're a good, healthy ape. What's wrong? What do you mean, what's wrong with you? You're a good, healthy ape. Your lover side's intact. It always will be. I don't care how much you love and are committed to this person. When that animal self in you is around another animal self, then the pheromones are right, or whatever you call those little things, you'll be attracted. And you will never be faithful because you feel like it. That is to say, if you're in touch with your lover energy. Now, if you're a good compulsive and split off from your lover energy, you'll be real faithful, probably, and you'll think you're so superior. And really, it would simply be because you're split off from the lover energy, and your sister or your brother or somebody else is carrying the lover for you in the projection. But then you have a midlife crisis, and you get in touch with the lover, and all of a sudden you're promiscuous as can be.